Today, we're going to talk about the 8th episode from Surah Al-Anaam. And when Abraham said to his father Azar, "Do you take idols as gods? I see you and your people in clear misguidance." The meaning of this verse is that God is telling the Prophet Muhammad, "O Muhammad, say to your people what was said," or convey to your people what Abraham said to his father Azar. Azar is one of the sons of Shem, the son of Noah. So what is he saying to him? Abraham said to his father, "Do you make stones into a lord that you and your people worship?" Who is saying this to whom? Abraham is saying this to his father Azar. Are you paying attention? So he says to him, "I see that you and your people are in what? In misguidance away from the path of truth." The truth is, many people have said that Abraham's father's name wasn't Azar, but rather his name was Terach. And others have said his name was Terah, you see. So that's the name of the father of the prophets, Abraham. It's not exactly known what his name was. And they said that Azar wasn't his real name. Anyway, we won't get into too many details about this issue because that's not what's important right now. The source that gives the meaning I just mentioned is Asar al-Tafsir by Abu Bakr al-Jazari. The question here is, who is speaking about the Prophet Abraham and his father Azar in the third person? Okay, I just want to point out something here about this surah, this one. Sorry, I mean these 10 verses in this current episode, and the next 10 verses as well, which are for the upcoming episode, episode 9. They have no connection to the verses before or after them. What comes before them doesn't mention the Prophet Abraham at all. And what comes after them, I believe, doesn't mention the Prophet Abraham either, except maybe in verse 75, and also thus we show. Now pay attention here. Pay attention here to how God likes to speak. In the previous verse, who was speaking? It was Abraham. And who was quoting him? God. But here it's God himself speaking directly. And thus we showed Abraham the dominion of the heavens and the earth so that he would be among those with certainty. All right, very good. So what does this mean? It means, according to the scholar who's speaking here, that Nuri here means we showed, or in colloquial terms, we let him see. So God let him see or showed him or presented to him, listen, we showed the prophet Abraham what is in the heavens until he saw the throne. Meaning we showed him everything in the heavens until he saw the throne itself. Exactly. And also we showed the prophet Abraham what is on earth, the disobedience of the children of Adam, so that he would be certain and believe what he saw of God's dominion. The important thing is, when God saw that Abraham was watching people's sins and praying against them, he revealed to him and said, "O Abraham, hold back from my servants." Abraham was sitting, and when shown dominion, he was also shown the disobedience of people. He was astonished when disobeying and started praying against them, God would destroy. God said, "Easy, easy, easy." You get what I mean? He revealed to him and said, "Hold back from my servants." What does hold back from my servants mean? It means, don't pray against my servants. Don't you know that one of my names is the patient? This idea. Honestly, this part really amazed me because, well, it's possible, that he prays and God doesn't answer. And that's it. I mean, it's not inevitable that if Abraham prays, God's reaction has to be destruction. He destroys. I felt from the scholar's interpretation that God himself was upset. Hey, easy, easy. You're praying against people, and everyone you pray against, I destroy. So why are you threatening him? Just let him pray as much as he wants. It's fine. There's no problem, really. The address here in this verse is in the first person, from God to Abraham. In the same way we show Abraham. We meaning God. And I want the linguists to answer me the question I'm about to ask, which is a purely linguistic question. What's the problem if we remove this letter and that letter and let's read it together? In the same way, we show Abraham the dominion of the heavens and the earth so that he may be among those with certainty. I want you to read it like this without the two vowels and tell me what flaw has affected the verse. Verse 76. When night fell upon him, he saw a star and said, "This is my Lord." But when it set, he said, "I do not love those that set." Pay attention here because our episode starts a story at this point. So, where is the story in all of this? Let's take the first meaning so we don't waste time. The meaning here, sir, is that Abraham was also in the same cellar, but he had grown up and become a young man, about 13 or 17 years old. He was also hiding so that Nimrod wouldn't notice him and all that. Yeah, and so they wouldn't kill him and all that stuff. So the important thing is that he had to stay in the cellar or the tunnel that his father had dug for him, and he put a rock over it so that wild animals and wolves wouldn't eat him at night. All right, so one night when night fell upon Abraham and it became pitch dark, Abraham came out. He peeked out like this. There was a hole in the rock that his father had sealed him in with, the one that led to the cellar. So he peeked out through that hole, and then planet appeared. They say it was Jupiter. Some say it was Venus. Honestly, I have no idea how scholars figured out Jupiter or Venus. But anyway, the important thing is some say it was Jupiter. Others say no, it was Venus. The important thing is when Abraham saw the planet, he said, "This is my Lord. This is God." You get it? So the source is he's asking a question. How could Abraham say that the planet was his Lord? Like, how come, So he answers. The source itself answers. It says that Abraham didn't actually say the planet was his Lord. No, he was saying that to show his people the mistake they were making by worshiping stars or planets, because these planets disappear. So he said that to show them their error. That's the idea. All right, fine. That's the first opinion. The second opinion says, no, he was actually telling them that this planet is my Lord. Meaning, when the planet appeared, he said that to rebuke his people. Because keep in mind as well, for the sake of establishing the truth, you might say when you see the planet, "This is my Lord." You get it? And you might say when you see it, "This is my Lord," just like that. I'm just trying to convey to you the verse using body language. And by the way, I didn't change the words. They're exactly the same. You get it? The phrasing can differ a lot in tone. When you're speaking, I could say, "This is my Lord." And there's another way I could say, "This is my Lord." And both phrases are exactly the same as the first one. But the second one is a question, a rejection, and even a rebuke. "This is my Lord." Like that. That's the verse. That's what the scholars meant. So honestly, I'm going to take you back to the text again. Here it is. Here are two opinions. One says that he said this to show his people the error in worshiping the planets, because these planets actually disappear. And the second opinion says no. He was actually asking a rhetorical and reproachful question to his people. How can you worship things that just appear and disappear like that? Sorry, the third opinion says no. It says that it's impossible for someone of the stature of Prophet Abraham to ever consider taking a planet as a lord in the first place. So who was it that said this meaning, and who was the one who asked this question? And who brought up these three opinions in answering the question? It's in Lubab al-Tawil fi Mani al-Tanzil by Al-Khazin, just so you know. So here, the real question is, who is talking about Prophet Abraham in the third person when he says about him, when night covered him? See, when he says about him, maybe this point isn't very clear. All right, so when night covered him, he saw, so him and he saw both refer to him as well. You see, someone is talking about him. This doesn't really need much explanation. He said, "This is my Lord." Okay. So when it says, when it disappeared, there are actually four third person pronouns here. Someone is talking about Prophet Abraham. So who is it that's speaking here? Is it Gabriel who's talking about him? Or is it God who's talking about him? Or is it Prophet Muhammad who's talking about him? Honestly, I have a small comment about the three answers the scholar gave to the question of how Prophet Abraham could have said about the star, "This is my Lord." So how do you know, Al-Khazin, that the answer was meant as a rebuke, or that it was for clarification, or who told you? Were you with Prophet Abraham to know whether it was for clarification or rebuke? Honestly, this is just an interpretation that lacks evidence. We must report things faithfully. Let's move on to verse 77. When he saw the moon rising, when he saw the star, he said, "This is my Lord." When he saw the moon rising, he said, "This is my Lord." When it set, what is the moon? The moon is just like the star. The star appeared and then disappeared. It's the same thing. The moon appeared and then disappeared. So when it set, that is when it disappeared or vanished. He said, "If my Lord does not guide me, I will surely be among the misguided people." All right, I'm not sure if it's me or the text you have with you. The text you have is fine. What does this mean? What's the meaning? Very simply, when the light of the moon shone brightly and Abraham saw it at night, he used to go out and look at the world while hiding in his cellar or tunnel. So, as soon as he saw the moon, he said, "This is my Lord." But when the moon disappeared, he said, "If my Lord does not guide me to the truth, I will be among the misguided." So, who is the source here before I go on and explain? The source is Jami al-Bayan fi Tafsir al-Quran by Al-Tabari. All right, that's clear. Here, actually, the question is, who is speaking about Prophet Abraham in the third person? Because it says, so when he saw, pay attention here, he saw, meaning when Abraham saw the moon, Abraham said, Abraham said, "This is my Lord." Then when the moon disappeared, he said, a third time, "See what I mean? If my Lord does not guide me, I will surely be among the misguided people." Very good. So you have three pronouns here. He in the third person. So who is speaking here about Prophet Abraham? Whose statement is this? And who is narrating it? That was a very important question. So what does this mean here? Another question. Honestly, did Prophet Abraham realize that he had a Lord yet? Or did he realize the existence of God after the moon disappeared? Only after the moon had set. As soon as the moon appears, he speaks with absolute certainty and says, "This is our Lord." As soon as the moon sets, he says, "If my Lord does not guide me." The real Lord, not the moon. You get it. I'll be among the misguided people. So if you know there's a God, why as soon as the planets appear? And as soon as the moon appears, why? This point really amazed me. The moon appears and it's his Lord. The moon disappears. If my real Lord doesn't guide me, I'll be among the misguided people. How does that make sense? Honestly, I don't understand. But anyway, let's just follow the verse one after another. Our job is just to use our minds, ask questions, and leave the rest to history, to people, to time, and all that. All right, that's great. So those were really the two questions. Let's move on to verse 78. So when he saw the sun rising, he said, "This is my Lord." For the third time, first the stars were his Lord, then the moon was his Lord, and now for the third time the sun is his Lord, right? So he said, "The sun is big. This must be my Lord then, you see." So when he saw the sun rising, he said, "This is my Lord. This is greater. This God is greater than the moon and greater than the stars or the planets. But when it set, when the sun disappeared, or when the sun went down, he said, "O my people, I am innocent of what you associate with Allah." All right, very good. So what's the meaning here when the sun rose? Of course, when the planet appeared and then disappeared, it was no longer his Lord. So when the planet showed up, it became his Lord. When it disappeared, it was no longer his Lord. After that, when the moon appeared, it became his Lord. When it disappeared, it was no longer his Lord. Then, in the third case, when the sun rose, it became his Lord, right? He was pleased with it, or he found it so big. He said, "Yes, this is our Lord." All right. When Abraham saw it, he said, "What is this? This is my Lord. This is bigger than the planet and bigger than the moon. And this is the real Lord." But when it disappeared again, like the moon, he said to his people, "I am innocent of what you associate with God." You get it? So he was believing what? Appearance and disappearance. You get it? He said, "I am innocent of what you associate with God." As soon as the sun disappeared, he immediately said, "I am with the Lord who created me and created you." So when God completed his reasoning and set his mind right, he said, "I have turned my face to the creator of the heavens and the earth sincerely, and I am not among those who associate others with him." All right. The question here again is, who is the one speaking about Prophet Ibrahim in the third person? Here, when he saw the sun, he, meaning Ibrahim, saw it. Here is the sun rising. He said, "This is my Lord." And then what did he say next? And then he went back and said, "Oh, my people, let's highlight this in different colors." That's very clear now. So who is the one talking about Ibrahim then? Whose words are these? And who is narrating this? Are both the words and the narration from God in this case? Honestly, I don't know. Because here a certain kind of action is happening. Because he is seeing. Ibrahim is seeing the sun. That's the act of seeing. So who is it that is narrating Ibrahim's vision? So what is this and his saying this here? Here there is both speech and action, both together. Who is it that is narrating both the words and the actions of Prophet Ibrahim? That was the real question, the second question. And this one is more important. Did Prophet Ibrahim only disavow the polytheist's idolatry after the sun had set? I mean, look, the sun appears. He says, "This is perfect. This is great. This is God." Then the sun sets. He says, "No, I'm not with you. I mean, I disavow what you associate with God." You get it? What you associate with the true God. Now I've turned my face to God, and that's it. And we repeated this 3 times. Oh, believer, one time you say God is the star, God is the moon, God is the sun. And in the end, it disappears. So if I relied on verse 79, that I turned to him. Pay attention here. He says, "I am innocent." Here it is underlined. And then, sorry, what happened? Let's go back and undo. Yeah, for example, here it is. I am innocent, exactly. And then he says, I have turned. So in both cases, here it goes back to I am innocent and I have turned, referring to this pronoun. He said, I am innocent. Here it is. Let me underline it for you. He said, I am innocent once, and that I what turned once. The action is still ongoing. He said, it's still considered. He said, I'm not going to add anything to the Quran. I'm trying to clarify. You get what I mean? It's a verb. He said in the previous verse, the action is still valid here. He said, I have turned my face to him who created the heavens and the earth upright, and I am not of the polytheists. All right, very good. Okay. The meaning here is that I have devoted my faith and actions sincerely to the creator of the heavens and the earth. And am I with you, or is it the text? Yes, exactly. Yeah, of course, meaning I have devoted my faith and actions to the creator of the heavens and the earth, and I have submitted myself to God, and I am not following the religion of the polytheists. Who is the source here? It is the interpretation of the Quran by Al-Farizabadi in verse 80, and it says, and his people argued with him. He said, do you argue with me about Allah while he has guided me? And I do not fear what you associate with him, unless my Lord wills something. My Lord encompasses all things in knowledge. Will you not then remember? Let's clarify it like this so it's clear for all of you. Okay, here he is actually explaining what this verse means. That the people of Abraham were arguing with him about the religion of God that he believed in. So Abraham said to them, you are arguing with me, but God has guided me to the path of truth. So his people said to him, aren't you afraid that our gods will destroy you since you worship something else? But Abraham replied, why should I be afraid of something that neither hears nor sees? Unless God leads me astray, then maybe I would fear your gods. You should take heed and believe in whom? In the true God. Who is the source here that gave this meaning? It's Bar al-Ulum by al-Samarkandi. Also, who here is talking about the prophet Abraham in the third person and so on. That's one example. It's him. Yeah, it's him exactly. See, his people, yeah, exactly. Right? You see? He said, do you argue with me about God when he has guided me? What did he say? So I don't forget. He said, do you argue with me about God when he has guided me? I don't fear what you associate with him unless my Lord wills. My Lord encompasses all things in knowledge. Will you not reason? All right, perfect. So, who is it then that's talking about him in the third person regarding his people? He said all of that. Here's the verse. That was the first question. The second question, honestly, I also want us to do the same thing we did with the two vavs in the previous verse. I want you to look with me very carefully and focus. He says, unless my Lord wills. Here, pay attention. Here it is. Unless my Lord wills something. All right, my Lord encompasses. Notice this repetition. Here, pay attention just a second with me. Here it is. My Lord encompasses all things in knowledge. Will you not remember? Was that the verse? The question is, if we read the verse without this second, my Lord, like this, look with me and pay attention, I'll read it for you again. His people argued with him. He said, do you argue with me about Allah when he has guided me? I do not fear what you associate with him, unless my Lord wills. he encompasses in knowledge. Will you not remember? What is the flaw that could occur or affect the verse if we read it without the second "my Lord"? Or was this repetition necessary? That was actually an important question. All right, I hope it's clear, right? The question in front of you is clear, all right? 81 says, and how should I fear? Pay attention here. The verses are interconnected. And I do not fear. Pay attention here. The previous verse, he says, and I do not fear what you associate with him. And how should I fear? And I do not fear, and how should I fear? And how should I fear what you associate? While you do not fear that you have associated with Allah that for which he has not sent down to you any authority. So which of the two parties has more right to security, if you should know? This is the text you have, right? Perfect, just like that. So I'll just stay in the background so we can get through this quickly. Here, the real meaning of this verse is that Prophet Ibrahim is speaking to his people in a tone of astonishment. Like, how could I be afraid of your gods, these deities that you worship? You made them partners with God, even though they can neither harm nor benefit anyone. You guys aren't even afraid of the true God himself. You see, you're not even afraid that you're associating other gods with him, are you? Other gods. God, the one who created you, and you haven't provided any proof, neither logical nor scriptural, for the divinity of these gods or lords that you believe in. So, which one of us really deserves to feel safe and not be afraid? Who is more entitled to not be afraid, me or you? What was that? That was the meaning of the verse my brother who is saying. Yeah, meaning he's saying these words. What's the source? It's Al-Wasit in the interpretation of the Quran by Sheikh Muhammad Syed Tantawi. Verse 82 says, those who believe and do not mix their faith with wrongdoing, they are the ones who will have security, and they are rightly guided. This, sir, means that those who believe in God and do not associate partners with him, or do not mix their faith with polytheism, they didn't believe in anyone else besides him. Those are the ones who are rightly guided, and those are the ones who are safe from the fire. And as for the rest of the people who associated another god with God, what about all of them? They are in clear misguidance. So the important thing is, the source here is Ruh al-Ma'ani by Al-Alusi. This very source says that it's possible the words in this verse could be from God himself. And there are other people who say, no, it's possible that it's from the words of Abraham. So basically, they don't know exactly whose words these are, whether it's God or the prophet Abraham. All right, let's take this verse. That was just a side note or something like that. Let's take the last verse. And that was our argument which we gave to Abraham against his people. We raise in degrees whom we will. Indeed, your Lord is wise, all-knowing. The meaning here is that God is saying that this argument, our argument that we gave or inspired or revealed to Abraham, and he used it to argue with his people. This argument is the appearance of the star, the moon, and the sun that we mentioned in verses 26, 27, and 28. And verse 30. You see, this is the argument that we gave to Abraham so he could prove to his people that we are God. Not the moon, not the stars, and not, the sun. This is the argument that we gave him. You see, even though, to be fair, what appears from the verses is that Abraham actually believed in the things that appeared before him until they disappeared. And then he would turn back to God. So honestly, I don't really know what their evidence is for that. But anyway, there's another group that says, no, that's not how the argument goes. The argument about God's divinity, or as a proof for the existence of God, is Abraham's statement, Which of the two groups is more worthy of security? The one we mentioned, what did the verse say? So they're saying that the argument is, sir, this one right here, Abraham's statement, which of the two groups? That's it. That's the argument. This is the argument that God gave. The other opinion says that this sentence is the argument that God gave to Abraham, or that Abraham was given to prove to his people that he is on the truth and believes in the true God, and that they are on falsehood and believe in the wrong God. This is the argument. And others say, no, actually, the story of his belief in the planets, his belief in the moon, and his belief in the sun is the argument that God gave him so he could prove to his people that all these things are not what? They are not gods. All right, great. So, anyway, we've pretty much almost finished, but I just have a small comment at the end. I mean, the people who criticize me for talking about the Quran, I'm not talking about the Quran. I'm just raising questions about the Quran and bringing in the words of the scholars. But honestly, I want to rely on something else, and I mentioned it in a previous video. If God says in verse 20 of Al-Ankabut, he says, see how creation began. Do you know what the word how means here? It means it means that God is telling you, go back and see how I created creation. I'm telling you, that's what it means. Go back and look, because if it didn't mean go back and look, he would have told you, believe that I created the heavens and the earth. No, he's telling you, what is he telling you? Look at how here means see how I did it. So God is telling you, go back and look. Look back and see how I created creation. Look at how creation began. How did God begin creation? So how can you, as a human, forbid me from looking at the verses and seeing what they say? That's the whole idea. So you see, God is more open-minded and more merciful than his servants.